Karen vandalized my Ferrari, then found out it was honoring a firefighting hero. Part 1, Chapter 1, A Gift of Honor. My name's Eric Dawson, and I've lived in Maple Ridge all my life. It's a modest neighborhood, middle-class, hard-working people, teachers, carpenters, EMTs. The kind of place where folks borrow sugar from each other and wave across driveways. Last fall, something extraordinary happened here. When our longtime fire chief Mike Reynolds retired after 32 years of service, 3 medals of bravery, 2 major rescue citations, and a lifetime of risking his life for strangers, the city decided to honor him in a way no plaque or handshake could ever match. Thanks to private donations and a partnership with a local dealership, they gifted him something he had dreamed of since he was a teenager, a Ferrari Portofino M Sleek Cherry Red, a roaring beast of craftsmanship and gratitude. It wasn't brand new, a 2021 model with a few thousand miles, but to Mike, it might as well have been a chariot from heaven. The man cried when he saw it, and the neighborhood cheered louder than they had for any 4th of July fireworks. Mike wasn't flashy. He didn't flaunt the car. He treated it like sacred ground. Mostly he kept it in his garage under a custom cover, embroidered with the words, "For service beyond self." It wasn't about the car. It was about what it represented. But some people only see the surface. And that's where Karen Whitmore comes in. Chapter 2, Karen Arrives. Karen moved into Maple Ridge 2 months after Mike got his Ferrari. She came from somewhere across town, rumor had it. She sued her last HOA for failing to maintain appearances. Her arrival was noticeable. A white luxury SUV, a house repainted immediately in a sterile gray, a new lawn sodded overnight to match some upscale magazine photo. She started dropping complaints before her boxes were even unpacked. Too many kids riding bikes, trash cans too visible from the street, unsightly vegetable gardens, and she hated Mike's Ferrari. You could see it in her face every time she walked by. To Karen, that red gleam didn't say honor or gratitude. It said show off. One Saturday morning, as I trimmed hedges out front, she strolled past, her little white dog yapping at her heels. She paused at Mike's driveway, scoffed and muttered, just loud enough for me to hear, "Some people just don't know how to be humble." I wiped sweat from my brow and said nothing, because people like Karen don't want answers. They want targets. Chapter 3, Little Sparks. The tension simmered quietly at first. Karen accidentally knocked over Mike's trash can once while reversing. She left HOA notices on his mailbox citing vehicle prominence violations, even though the Ferrari was garaged most of the time. She complained that the excessive red of the car when visible clashed with neighborhood aesthetics. Mike ignored it all. He was a firefighter after all. He knew how to deal with smoke without fanning it into flames, but resentment, real resentment, builds silently like gas leaking into a closed room. And one night, all it needed was a spark. Chapter 4, The Scratch That Shook the Block. It happened on a Thursday evening. Mike had pulled the Ferrari out for the first time in weeks to drive it to the local firehouse for a charity auction photo op. He parked it for a moment in his driveway engine, cooling gleaming under the setting sun like a jewel. I was across the street chatting with Gus about lawn fertilizer when we both noticed Karen walking her dog, or rather dragging her dog. It was more interested in sniffing grass than parading down the block. She stopped at Mike's driveway, looked left, looked right, no one else nearby, or so she thought, and then casually, almost lazily, she took her keys from her purse and dragged them slowly, deliberately along the entire passenger side of Mike's Ferrari. Metal screeched against metal, a long, jagged silver scar ripped through the perfect red paint. I stood frozen, mouth open, heart pounding. Gus gasped audibly. Karen didn't even flinch. She just snapped her purse shut, tugged her dog's leash, and strolled away like she'd just dropped a piece of litter. I wanted to shout, wanted to chase her down, but Gus, wiser than me, grabbed my arm. "Get your phone," he whispered urgently. "We record, we don't confront, smart man." By the time Mike stepped outside, the damage was done. He stood there staring at his wounded car shoulders, stiff jaw clenched so hard I thought he might shatter a tooth. I showed him the video. He didn't say a word, just nodded once. And that's when I knew this wasn't going to stay a neighborhood secret. This was going to blow up. Part 2, Chapter 5, The video goes viral. I posted the video that night. No commentary, no accusations, just the raw footage. Karen calmly scratching a $200 and $1,000 Ferrari like she was swiping dust off a countertop. By morning, it had over 1,000 shares on the neighborhood app. By lunch, it hit the city Facebook groups with captions like, "Local Karen vandalizes firefighter's honor gift. This is how you thank a hero." The comments section exploded. "Absolute disgrace. How entitled can you be? Running. Hope she gets arrested." Mike didn't say much publicly. He didn't have to. The video, the truth spoke louder than any words. By dinnertime, Channel 9 News was camped on our street, sticking microphones into bushes, trying to catch a glimpse of the Maple Ridge vandal. And Karen locked her doors and pulled her blinds. But you can't hide from the internet. Not when you've handed it a villain on a silver platter. Chapter 6. Karen's defense falls apart. 2 days after the video exploded, Karen posted a statement to the neighborhood app. It read, "The video was edited, I tripped. My key accidentally grazed the vehicle. I deeply respect our first responders. This is a targeted smear campaign against me." The neighborhood lost it. Even people who had once politely ignored Karen now spoke up. "Trip and drag your key for 6 feet. Really? How does respect involve vandalism? Ma'am, you need to stop embarrassing yourself." Someone even photoshopped a picture of Karen wearing a world's worst neighbor sash. It was mean, it was petty, and I couldn't say it wasn't deserved. Karen tried to pivot. She threatened lawsuits against Mike, against me, against the HOA, against anyone who had shared the video. The threats went nowhere. The HOA issued an official censure. The city pressed misdemeanor, vandalism charges, and public opinion. It buried her. Chapter 7. Mike's silent strength. Throughout it all, Mike stayed steady. He didn't lash out, didn't play the victim. He simply attended the HOA meetings, answered reporters with calm dignity, and kept on living his life. One night, after a particularly nasty online thread about Karen made the rounds, I found Mike sitting on his porch, cleaning a garden hose nozzle, like it was some ancient ritual. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "I fought fires bigger than this, kid." Then he looked up, eyes tired but steady. "But it's not just about the car. It's about what it meant for once they tried to say, 'Thank you,' and she couldn't let it stand." That stuck with me. Karen hadn't just scratched a Ferrari. She'd tried to scratch out gratitude itself. Chapter 8. The formal charges. The city prosecutor filed official charges within a week. Criminal vandalism, property damage, exceeding $5,000, malicious mischief. Karen was served papers at her front door, an event caught gleefully by a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera, and naturally uploaded for the world to see. She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she just stood there trembling, clutching the citation papers like they might catch fire in her hands. The news ran the footage under the caption, "Justice in Maple Ridge. Entitled neighbor finally faces charges." Watching it, I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted to cheer. Another part of me, the quieter part, just felt sad. It didn't have to be like this. Karen could have chosen kindness or silence or even basic decency, but she chose spite, and now she was reaping exactly what she had sown. Chapter 9. Fractures and Consequences. The fallout was brutal. Karen's real estate license, she had quietly been working as an independent agent, was suspended pending ethical review. Her SUV was vandalized, irony's cruel little echo, with the word respect scratched into the door. She filed police reports, complained of harassment, but the tide was out and no one was building bridges for her. The same people she used to criticize for cluttered lawns and messy Christmas decorations now gathered for potlucks and cleanup drives. Without her, Cottonwood Street didn't just reject Karen, it healed around her absence. And yet deep down I wondered, could anyone, even Karen, find a way back from this? Or was she lost forever beneath the rubble of her own pride? Part 3. Chapter 10. The Isolation. After the charges, the street grew strangely quiet around Karen. Her once perfect lawn grew shaggy at the edges. Her mailbox sagged slightly on one hinge untouched. No one rang her bell. No one returned her icy waves. The for sale sign she posted in desperation wilted week after week without a single bite. People remembered. People cared. But not for her. For the first time, Karen couldn't out-argue, out-litigate, or outlast the consequences. They weren't external punishments anymore. They lived inside her. One evening I watched from my porch as Karen sat alone on her front steps, face hidden in her hands, shoulders shaking under the setting sun. It wasn't anger anymore. It wasn't arrogance. It was loss. And somehow that sight pierced deeper than all her ugly words ever had. Chapter 11. Unexpected Olive Branch. One Friday afternoon, Mike hosted a block party in honor of Firefighter Appreciation Month. Nothing fancy, just burgers, lemonade folding tables, and a lot of laughing kids. Almost the whole street came out, except Karen. She stood behind her screen door for a long time watching. At some point, Gus, our no-nonsense neighbor, ambled over to Mike, plate in hand. "You think," he said, chewing thoughtfully, "we ought to send her a plate?" Mike paused, wiped his hands on a towel, and after a long moment he nodded, because that's who Mike was. Not petty, not vindictive. Just a man who believed in second chances. Vanessa and her daughter brought the plate over, a burger, some chips, a slice of homemade pie. Karen didn't open the door right away, but an hour later the empty plate reappeared on the porch. And somehow that small act cracked something open. Chapter 12. Karen's First Step. The next morning, Karen did something none of us expected. She showed up at the community garden project, the one we were building at the end of the street, holding a battered trowel and a box of seed packets. She didn't make a speech, didn't demand forgiveness. She just knelt in the dirt and started working, weeding, planting, hauling water. At first, people kept their distance, but kindness is contagious. Kids ran over, first handing her tools and giggling. Then the parents came offering quiet nods, cautious smiles. No one forgot what she did, but maybe some things don't need to be forgotten, just transformed, like fire turning wood into something new. Chapter 13. The letter. A few weeks later, a letter showed up in Mike's mailbox. No envelope, no signature, just a single sheet of paper. "Dear Mike, I'm sorry. Not just for the car, for the disrespect, for the selfishness, for forgetting that what you sacrificed matters more than my pride ever could. Thank you for everything you gave. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like, Karen." Mike didn't show it to anyone at first, but word got around. And somehow that apology, simple, raw, without excuse, did more than any court fine ever could. It let healing breathe. Chapter 14. Roots and Redemption. By spring the garden bloomed. Sunflowers, tomatoes creeping time, a stubborn patch of wild clover pushing through the stones. A reminder that some things survive because they refuse to give up. Karen became a regular volunteer. Not loud, not trying to erase the past, just present. One afternoon, as we built a new playground corner for the kids, she knelt beside Mike, hammering a frame into place. No cameras, no speeches, just two people scarred, changed but still standing, building something better side by side. Part 4. Chapter 15. Restoration. Spring melted into early summer, and with it came something symbolic. Mike's Ferrari, once scarred and wounded, returned from the auto shop, fully restored courtesy of a citywide fundraising effort that raised more than enough for premium repairs and a new custom detailing. When he pulled it back into his driveway, the neighborhood gathered almost unconsciously. There were no speeches, no banners, just a wave of applause, spontaneous, raw, rising from neighbors old and new. Mike stepped out of the car, beaming a little shy. Karen stood on the outer edge of the crowd, hands stuffed awkwardly in her jacket pockets. She looked small, humbled, hopeful. After a beat, Mike made his way over to her. No cameras, no reporters, just two human beings standing on the thin bridge of second chances. Karen swallowed hard, extended her hand. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "Truly." Mike stared at her for a long second. Then he took her hand, not with a politician's grip, but with the firm, steady shake of someone who knew what it meant to pull people out of burning buildings without asking who they were. "Thank you," he said simply. And in that moment, the past, the anger, the pride, the mistakes loosened its grip just a little. Chapter 16, A Street Reborn. Cottonwood Street blossomed that summer. The new community garden thrived, wildflowers spilling into sidewalks, kids chasing butterflies between the rows. Barbecues became regular again. Porch lights stayed on longer. Laughter drifted across the dusky air like music. Karen kept coming to garden events, cleanup days, little neighborhood fairs. Not to fix her image, not to erase her mistake, but because she finally understood something Mike had known all along. Honor isn't in appearances, it's in actions. It's in getting your hands dirty when no one's watching. She planted trees, painted playground benches, organized fire safety classes for local kids. And little by little people stopped seeing her as Karen the Vandal. They just saw her as Karen, a neighbor. One evening as the sun sank low and fireflies blinked alive, Karen sat beside Mike and Gus near the community garden. They talked about everything: baseball, weather, how fast kids grow up, and nothing at all. And when Karen laughed, really laughed, full and unguarded, it felt like something blooming where scorched earth had once been. The Ferrari gleamed quietly in Mike's garage, but the real treasure of Cottonwood Street wasn't metal or horsepower. It was resilience, forgiveness. The stubborn, beautiful belief that people like gardens could grow again after fire, if only they dared to plant new seeds. The end.